What's up, badass Black Desert Mobile fans? Black Desert Mobile released Awakening 2 or 3 days ago, and with that, people realized that they were missing 11th skills. I made it Awakened, the 11th skill missing for all Awakened classes, so I am doing that for the Ascended classes. I do have all 8 classes in this video for you guys with that missing skill for each class. Some it affects more than other classes. I am going to cover them. If this is your first time in my channel, make sure you check out the description down below for additional badass Black Desert Mobile content. You won't be disappointed. The first class I'm going to cover is the Raven, and that is because the skill description in the top left is incorrect and not accurate, so I'm assuming when this comes global that will be fixed and corrected. It does show 1 charge, 5-second cooldown time. If you notice here, it's he knocks the target down, but on this description right here, it doesn't show a knockdown. It shows 900% damage. If you hit the plus sign, it does show a knockdown, and it shows different damage output. So this looks like the accurate skill description when you hit the plus sign. The one downside, the one difference as well, is it's not a 5-second cooldown time. It's actually a 10-second cooldown time, which is double the time. So it's pretty drastic. So the skill does offer a knockdown, no immunity, 15-60% damage. So it is a pretty decent skill. For its sub-skills, it's reducing the target's movement speed by 10%, adds a bleed of 60 bleed damage, and reduces the cooldown time on that skill by 3 seconds, taking it from a 10 to a 7-second cooldown time. So that is the Raven skill. To see what it looks like in action. So this skill was in the Sorceress kit, and then they removed it. It is supposed to be in the Raven kit. You saw it right there. It doesn't have much range. It hits all the targets in front of her. It's not an AoE. It doesn't hit targets behind. You can see here the cooldown time of the skill is double 5 seconds. I counted it. It's 10 seconds. I can promise you can count it the next time as soon as I use it here. So it doesn't have much range. Doesn't hit targets behind her. 10-second cooldown time. So I'm assuming it's doing that 15-60% total damage, because that seems like the correct skill. Doesn't have any immunity, unfortunately, so it's not going to be super important for PvP in arenas, but it does offer that knockdown and a high damage output. It is a quick casting skill as well. Up next, we have the Huntress, and the skill that she's missing comes with 1 charge on an 8-second cooldown time, does 364% damage on 6 hits, so it's a lot. It offers a bound, so it pulls the targets towards you, and then it knocks them down. It is a pretty hefty skill. I do like it a lot. Does not offer an immunity, so no super armor for arenas, just no super armor, period. Doesn't matter where you are. It increases your AP by plus 20. It also applies a bleed of 60 bleed damage. And then the third sub-skill is 10% range on the skill. So it's a very nice skill. Does pull all the targets towards you with that bound and then knocks them down. This skill is going to be very useful for PvP even without the super armor. It does have some serious range too, because after she's done bounding you, so pulling you towards her, she shoots an arrow, and that arrow actually has more range than the bound. As you can see, that target at the back got hit. After the bound was done, she shot an arrow, and that does have some decent range. It's like a mid-range on that arrow. Looks like it hits all the targets in front of her, so pulls them all towards her. It's a very nice skill. I do like it. That is the Huntress. Up next, we have the Gladiator. The Gladiator skill is 1 charge on a 7-second cooldown time. It does 1,000% damage. It gives you a super armor, but not in the arenas, and it applies a knockdown. It is a very, very nice skill. The range on this skill is crazy. They can throw this so far, and it offers that knockdown, so it's great for gap closing. It does offer a bleed, 10% more range on this skill when you upgrade this skill. I do like this skill a lot. Unfortunately, no super armor in arenas, but it is still a hefty skill. I would still definitely use it for arenas because of the range on this thing. And then you can close the gap and combo them up with other targets. So this is a very important skill, even for arenas without the super armor. I do like it in general. For PvE grinding, it's pretty useless. I wouldn't use it. It does have a 1 pierce as well, so we'll go through the first target and knock the second target down as well. It does hit all the targets in front. With that, as you can see, it pierced through and hit that target way back there. So it does have some nice range. It does have a pierce. No super armor, but it does give super armor outside of arenas. So for remoteness or guild versus guild, it is nice. And that is the Gladiator's missing skill. Next, we have the Striker, aka GrandMaster. Now, he is Ascended. He is not Awakened. So for those that were commenting on the Awakened video, 11th skill missing, he would not belong on that video. He would belong on this one. Anyways, the missing skill for him comes with 1 charge on a 10-second cooldown time. Does 534% damage on 2 hits. It does have a max of 2 attacks as well. It stuns the target on the first hit and then knocks him down on the last hit. It does have a 3-second cooldown time reduction, 5% crit increase for 10 seconds, and 10% range on the skill. Honestly, I like this skill for all situations, including PvE farming. It's not the best, but it could be useful. It does offer 2 attacks, as you can see right there, the jump up and then the knockdown at the end there. So it does offer those dual CCs, which is very nice for PvP specifically, obviously not grinding. But for PvP, it's offering 2 CCs, a high damage output. So it will be useful for large and small scale PvP. Unfortunately, it doesn't offer any immunity like some of the other classes do with their 11th skill. But this one can be used for PvE. You could get away with boss fights. Just an overall solid skill with no immunity. That is the Striker, aka GrandMaster. The Titan's 11th skill comes with 1 charge on an 8-second cooldown time. Does 959% damage on 2 hits, so that's 1918% damage. And it does apply knockdown. For sub-skills, 2-second cooldown time reduction, 60 bleed damage, and 10% range on the skill, which is nice. The 2-second cooldown time reduction takes it from 8 to 6 seconds, which is nice for the 11th skills as far as cooldown time reduction from what I've seen from these skills. It does not have an AoE radius. It only hits targets in front of him. It doesn't have a whole lot of range to the skill as well. This skill is best used for combos, so you stun the target and then you can knock them down with this skill because it does have that high damage output. For PvE farming, you could get away with it in the combo because it will attack all the targets in front of him. I would probably leave it off of the skill rotation though, as there is other skills, especially the spin to win, that are more useful, but you could get away with it. That is the Titan. Up next, we have the Mage, aka the Ascended Witch. It does come with 1 charge on an 8-second cooldown time, 877% damage on 2 hits. You do get super armor, but not in the arenas, and it applies a knockdown. This skill is nasty even without that super armor. It has a 15% movement speed reduction on the target. It applies 100 bleed damage every second for 3 seconds. And you get 1 initial charge, taking it to 2 initial charges. The range on this skill is pretty nice as well. It's kind of like Meteor Shower. It does have solid range. The radius on it is pretty decent. It's not the best of radiuses on the skill itself, but the range on it is nasty. So you can see the guy I have target over there. He's about as far as you can get, and I hit him, and then there's radius on that. So this skill might be one of the longest range skills with the radius on the skill as well. I would recommend using this skill for all situations. PvE, PvP, large scale, small scale, you name it. It's a heavy hitting skill. I like it a lot. That is for the Mage. Up next, we have the Void Knight. The Void Knight's missing skill comes with 1 charge and an 8-second cooldown time. Does a little under 1300% damage. It does apply a Void Zone underneath the target, which does 20% times 5, so another 100% damage. And it does stun the target. As you can see right there, she like snaps her fingers. That is the 11th skill for the Void Knight. For the sub skills, we have negative 15% movement speed, a 60 bleed damage. As you can see here with the skill, all targets inside continue to take that damage inside that zone. That zone does have some pretty solid radius. The skill does offer some decent damage at 1300% to all targets in that area, and then they take damage over time. The skill is going to be useful for all situations, honestly, in my opinion. It does offer that stun. It does not have crazy range to it, but the radius on the skill is very nice, and it applies that stun. For PvE farming, obviously, I would definitely use it. For PvP, I would use it large and small scale. That is the Void Knight. The last but not least class that we have is the Paladin. The Paladin comes with 2 initial charges on the skill, 10-second cooldown time, does 472% damage on 4 hits. So you're looking at 16 plus 140 to 280. So 1880% damage, and it applies a knockdown off the top of my head. For sub skills, it has 10% range on the skill. It does hit 1 additional target and a 3-second cooldown time reduction, taking the skill to 7 seconds with 2 initial charges. Unfortunately, the skill doesn't have super armor, so it's not going to be, no immunity in the arenas that you're missing. It does hit all targets in front of her. It doesn't hit targets behind her. It does have decent damage. And you get 2 initial charges. That's the important part. 2 initial charges. So you can literally spam this. Bam, and then bam. So you could technically use this skill for PvE farming because of those 2 initial charges, and it's going to kill all those targets. For PvP, it's offering that knockdown as well, so it can be very useful. That covers the 11th skill for all of the Ascended classes that you guys requested, and I did say I would come out with that for you guys. If you guys want to see any other type of content, by all means, let me know in the comments down below. If you're new to my channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I appreciate it. If you're regular, hit that like and leave a comment on your way out. And with that being said, I will see you next time.